This is a presentation on simplifying rational expressions by Mathematically Marcia. All right, let's start with an example of monomials. You have 5x squared over 10x. Remember, 5x squared essentially means 5x times x, and then over 10x. So one of these x's can cross off, and then 5 and 10 can both be divided by 5. So that leaves me with an x on top and a 2 on bottom. Or a quicker way to do it is to take your exponents, which is 2, and remember there's an assumed 1 there, and then 2 minus 1 equals 1. So you have 1x left on top. And then 5 over 10 still reduced to 1/2. But we also, when we're doing this, need to look at the denominator before we divide it and see if we have any excluded values. So in this case we have a 10x. There is a variable in the denominator, which means you do have an excluded value. So 10x cannot equal 0. Divide by 10. So x cannot equal 0. So we reduce it to say x over 2, and then x cannot equal 0. Okay, in this example, the only thing we can really simplify is the 9 over 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and then we have an x, and we have a y. And since we did not have any variables in the denominator, we do not have any excluded values. So it's just 3xy. All right, let's simplify first. 16 divided by 4 is 4. X squared divided by x. Remember there's an assumed 1 here. 2 minus 1 is 1. And there's an assumed 1 here. 3 minus 1 is 2. We do, however, have some variables in the denominator. So x cannot equal 0. Y cannot equal 0. And that is our answer. It reduces to 4xy squared, and then x cannot equal 0, y cannot equal 0. Okay, remember parentheses are a type of grouping symbol. So because x minus 4 is in a parentheses, it is a group. So I have to keep that group together. It cannot be split up. But you see we have an x minus 4 here, and we have an x minus 4 there. Since I have it on top and I have it on bottom, I can cross that off. And that leaves me with an x minus 6 on top and an x plus 3. Now we don't really need the parentheses anymore because the fraction bar also acts as a grouping symbol. So it groups the x minus 6 in the numerator and the x plus 3 in the denominator. Do not make the mistake of trying to reduce those or cross these off. You cannot, because you cannot split the groups up. So we have to leave it x minus 6 and x plus 3. We do, however, need to go back and do our excluded values. We need to do the excluded values before things were crossed off. So we use the x plus 3 cannot equal 0, and x minus 4 cannot equal 0. So in this one I subtract 3. X cannot equal negative 3. Over here we add 4. X cannot equal 4. So my final answer is x minus 6 over x plus 3. X cannot equal negative 3 or 4. Okay, before we can simplify this, we need to find the factors of it on the numerator and the denominator. So let's do the numerator first. We've got a times c, which would be 15, or negative 15. So my signs are different. Larger is positive because b is positive. So negative 1 times 15 doesn't work. Negative 3 times 5, that works. So x minus 3 and x plus 5. Now let's factor the denominator. A times c here is positive 27. So now my signs are the same. And since b is negative, they'll both be negative. So negative 1 times negative 27, negative 3 times negative 9. And that works. It adds up to 12. So in my denominator, I have x minus 3 and x minus 9. Alright, so now we can look at this and see our x minus 3, x minus 3. There is one on top and one on bottom. So that leaves me with x plus 5 on top, x minus 9. Now we don't need the parentheses because the fraction bar acts like a grouping symbol. And remember, we cannot split the groups up. If you can't cross the whole group off, you can't cross any of it off. Now we need to do our excluded values. X minus 3, x minus 9. Remember, even if you crossed it off, you've got to use it for the excluded values. So let me erase this. Give us some room. Alright, so x minus 3 cannot equal 0. X minus 9 cannot equal 0. So we add 3. X cannot equal 3. Add 9. X cannot equal 9. So x cannot equal 3 or 9. Alright, let's factor our numerator and denominator. And we will start with the numerator. When we multiply a times c, we get negative 12. Because it's negative, our signs need to be different. And the larger number needs to be positive because that's what b is. So we have negative 1 times 12, which we've already found it. That works. Don't forget to use 3x in both factors. So 3x minus 1y. Don't forget the y on the end. 3x plus 12y. Now we can simplify this and just say 3x minus y. And over here we can divide both of these by 3. So x plus 4y. Okay, so for our numerator, we have 3x minus y and x plus 4y. Now let's factor the denominator. So this is our denominator right here. Now a times c would be positive 21, so my signs are the same. B is negative, so they're both negative. Negative 1 times negative 21, and that actually works. So 3x minus 1y and 3x minus 21y. Right. And then both of these can be divided by 3. So that simplifies to 3x minus y and then x minus 7y. So our denominator is 3x minus y and x minus 7y. Now remember, we cannot split groups up. They have to stay with their group. So either you can cancel the whole group or not at all. They do both have a 3x minus y. So that we can cancel. And that leaves us with x plus 4y over x minus 7y. Now we just need to find our excluded values. Remember, you have to use even the factors we crossed off. So 3x minus y cannot equal 0. X minus 7y cannot equal 0. So 3x cannot equal y divided by 3. X cannot equal y over 3. Or x cannot equal 7y. So we have x plus 4y over x minus 7y. And then x cannot equal y over 3 or 7y. If you thought this video was helpful, please hit the like button below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions, or requests for future videos in the comments section. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.